And once it, yes.
Yes? Okay. Awesome. Hey, welcome to Tell It to the Dead's podcast, Dead Air, for last week's episode 803 Monsters. I believe we're calling this one Monsters and King Eric. Yeah, I'm the last big cat, and I'll have everyone introduce themselves in whichever order they prefer.
I'm Trevor Michonne from Tell It to the Dead.
Mama Grimes.
Candace.
I'm Autumn. What's up, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's everybody. All right, cool roll call. For this episode, we're gonna start. I'm just gonna go ahead and outline a few themes that I saw for the episodes. We'll go into everyone's worst, like the worst moment for the episode, favorite moments, and then I have things kind of broken down by character dynamics, and we'll finish off by going into what we see happening for the rest of the season and any like final observations or stray thoughts. So the themes I saw for this episode, we've got two. There's the optimism, kind of shown by Zeke, and then the major one was really how to deal with surrender, prisoners of war, and people on the opposing side of a conflict. And that was just like a shit ton of different characters: Jesus, Morgan, Tara, Maggie, Rick, Daryl, da 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 da. All right. And then we'll go ahead and move into the worst moment. Forever, what was the worst moment for you?
My worst moment was Daryl. It's general. Trying to just bombard his way into and killing people that Rick is not ready to kill. That was my worst moment.
Good worst moment. Mama, what was your worst moment?
Oh, I have a few, but I'll give you my top two. I will agree with Forever that Daryl killing Morales and the Savior, I thought was pretty heavy-handed, where they're trying to compare, let's just kill them all, to, going along with your theme, to being merciful and being, aiming for peace in the long run. So I didn't like that because I thought it was just really heavy-handed. Obviously, anything with Daryl I don't like, but that in particular, it's like, oh yeah, I get it. He's the opposite of Rick right now. Okay, but one of the more annoying scenes for me was that long scene between Maggie and Gregory. It was really just very annoying, and I thought actually, I hate to say it, but poorly acted. It was really uncomfortable to watch. I'll just leave it at that. I wasn't entertained. I wasn't intrigued. I didn't really care. So, those are my two.
And Candace, what was your worst moment?
The ending.
Oh.
We'll talk about it later, but I really hated how it ended. Everybody goes with your first thing, optimism. Everybody was optimistic. Ezekiel kept his word, and then all of a sudden, this random sniper came and just ruined everything. And now they set up Carol to be Robo Carol again, and I really hate that idea. So
I was confused with the ending because I thought maybe my episode cut off too soon. Autumn, what was your worst moment?
My worst moment was the Morales getting killed. It's kind of catch-22 with me, though, because I didn't have a problem with Daryl killing him. I kind of thought it was within his character to do so, but just for them to bring Morales back so that he can be killed off in that episode like that, I thought it was clear that was fan service. I don't know what it was, but I mean, they could have. I didn't think he would last that long, but I didn't think he would die off that quick. And it kind of was just like, what's the point other than the fact we're doing this whole, is Rick really a monster? Is he becoming the thing that, like, come on. It was just a little bit too much for me.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'd put that one down as my worst moment, but yeah, there were a lot of things I didn't particularly like about it. One of them is that Morales just like speeched his way through his whole like time on screen. It was annoying, and then like in retrospect, I think it's because they knew he was gonna die, so like we have to shove in as much Morales as we can before Daryl comes and kills him, and he's gone forever. So yeah, for that his whole talk with Rick, it kind of just felt like it was just Morales speechifying and them saying all the stuff that they want to say because that's his function.
Right.
And instead of like a conversation, like Rick got like a few words in. There's one time Morales is like, "What do you have to say, Rick?" And then he waits like a second, and then he's like, "Oh, I guess you don't have anything to say, Rick." Like, what the fuck?
Was it ever made clear why Morales hates Rick so much? I watched this episode a few times, and I'm like, what is your problem?
Yeah, I expected that maybe Morales would say something like, "Oh, you like mention some event, like maybe that Rick killed the guys at the satellite station or something," and those were like Morales's buddy, or like reference something in particular, not just like, "Oh, you're a monster." Like, oh, okay.
Why?
Like Rick has brought up specific reasons why they hate Negan and they have to fight against him, and then Morales is like, "I'm just mad." You.
It's like, oh, you shut up,
you monster.
You're no different than me. Like, dude, you don't even know me. What's going on here?
Like maybe he would reference, like maybe the plan to throw the herd at the Saviors or something, and Morales is real pissed about that. But he doesn't give any reason at all. So I was like, I still wouldn't buy the whole they're all as bad as the Saviors, even if he gave specific examples, but it's just like, why is he mad? Does he even know about, the sanctuary being attacked by walkers? Like, did someone radio in, like, "Hey man, we're like covered by walkers"?
It was just incredibly shallow. It didn't have any depth to it other than the fact it's like, oh, let's bring Morales back to shut up people from the joke or something. I don't know.
I guess. And
it felt gimmicky. Very
right.
Yeah. I think there's a way they could have done this, bring Morales back and have him be with the Saviors, and it could have actually worked out kind of well, but they just like, it's like they did it to check off a box and then move on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So bad execution again. But anyways, let's move on to happier things, like favorite moments. Forever, was your favorite moment?
Speaking of optimism, and this is a recycle from last episode, I loved Zeke and just how optimistic he was about everything, and I don't know, just going forward with like a really full expectation that he's gonna come out on the top of this. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
He's my favorite.
He's great. Mama, what was your favorite moment?
I would say probably when Aaron took Gracie. It was very touching. I mean, I didn't particularly like his goodbye to King Eric, but he made up for it with the with offering to take Gracie to Hilltop. I thought that was very sweet, and yeah, I liked that moment.
Yeah, that was very touching. Candace, your favorite moment?
That was probably my favorite moment, and the moment between Jesus and Maggie, and also when Jesus told Morgan that Maggie would find a way to make it work with the hostages. I thought that was nice to show that he has faith in her, and he sees more in her than she does. Because at first she was kind of hesitant about keeping the hostages, or saviors, whatever you want to call them. But I think down the line during the season, we'll see that she's gonna find more compassion. Right now, I don't know, she's kind of focused on the goal, and she doesn't see that after the war, they have to live with themselves, and if she just turned them all to die, I think in the end it will affect her. So Jesus is kind of saving her soul right now.
Yeah, I am liking seeing Maggie and Jesus interact, just because they're characters who will continue to interact instead of being like, "We're best friends," and then disappear. Autumn, what was your favorite moment?
I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of Mama's point with Aaron, and I like the part at the end when Eric takes the baby, but I kind of like the goodbye too in a way. At the same time, it left me kind of sad because I'm like, well, where was all of this before? I wish we would have gotten more of that couple dynamic a little bit more and seen more of Eric. I would have really liked to see that, but overall, I thought that was a touching moment, and I almost cried because I'm a big baby, and I'm like, they haven't even been in the show that much, but I'm gonna cry because it's so emotional.
Yeah. I know I'm one of the 2 or 3 Eric stans in the entire world. King Eric, he did rise. I was right. You were all wrong. But yeah, the goodbye made me wish Eric had been on more and we'd seen more of Aaron and Eric together before King Eric went to go be truly King Eric, the Walker King. Yeah, but my favorite moment was actually between what's his face, Gregory and Cal, just about the pancake thing.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
It's just like I don't really care about either of those characters. I can't wait for Gregory to die, but it was just like this one little moment that felt like people were actually talking to each other in like a regular thing, like, and it spoke of this history that the Hilltop has. So I like that one little exchange. Because it felt genuine.
And it also showed a part of Gregory's character. Who steals a pancake from a child?
That's what I was going to say. Really real, because Gregory would steal those pancakes. We believe that.
But you bring up a great point, Kat, because you're right. Most of that dialogue was natural, and so much of the dialogue nowadays is very staged and unnatural. So that was a good moment.
Yeah, and a lot of the dialogue is staged because there's this big philosophical conflict that they want to talk about, which could be done in a natural way, but was not. But when we can transition from there right on over to the Morales section, I think we went over, did Rick kill his cat or why is he so mad already? So we can just kind of go into some of the dialogue that Morales had, where he's kind of hitting on this theme they're talking about with the saviors and everyone else being the same. He's like, we're the same, you're a monster, we're both just 2 assholes who'll do whatever it takes to keep going. I lost my family, lost my mind, had to be something, yada, yada, yada. So what's Morales getting at here? What's really the purpose that the writers are using him for? And then when Rick listed off the names of people who died, like Laurie, Shane, Andrea, Glenn, didn't mention Dale. How did that affect Morales, especially the Glenn part when he said, he found someone and all this, pregnant wife. And then there's one little thing more on that, but we'll kind of go on that the next go around. Forever, your take on Morales.
On Morales, I think that he was basically a person from season 1 that is can act as a mirror to Rick. Had they gone different ways, maybe Rick might have joined up with Negan, but I know that's not true because Rick is not that kind of person. But he's basically serving as like a mirror, kind of exposing Rick to just the way that the saviors are.
Yeah.
Kind of humanizing the saviors while at the same time Morales is humanizing the saviors while Rick is humanizing what is big bad Rick from Alexandria that's trying to kill all the saviors, basically.
Yeah, they have this history, so they know each other from before, and now they're meeting on opposite sides. So yeah, so they're kind of seeing how they ended up in these different paths.
Yeah.
And Mama, what is your take?
I would agree with what Forever said, and it's really just I don't want to use the word shoehorn again, but it's basically Gimple's way of saying, hey, audience, remember this, because when Negan, something happens with Negan at the end that you might not be expecting, like maybe, I don't know, he lives or is spared, that's because he and Rick just aren't that different. And, that they're so similar. They're just guys that are trying to survive in the apocalypse. And Morales sort of served as that introduction to this theme that I think is going to be throughout the entire season. And I mean, we already saw it several times in the rest of that episode. So, I look at it as Morales is representing the mirror side of Rick and vice versa. And it's just putting it in our heads that these people are all just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm. And Candace.
I think Morales was used to show, like, hey, maybe this would be Rick if Rick didn't have his family, because Morales lost all his family. So he kind of saw the new group, Negan and the Saviors, as a new family. But other than that, I also think it shows Rick that, hey, Saviors are good people, because Rick, at the beginning, Rick said only one person has to die, and when he got a chance to shoot Negan, he didn't, but that's besides the point. But now we see that more than one person has died, and Rick's ideology of only one person has to die is kind of false. It's kind of optimistic, kind of like King Zeke, but it really didn't last long.
Yeah.
It didn't even last the whole first episode. So.
Yeah. Only one person has to die, and we're not gonna kill him. Okay. Autumn, what's your take on Morales?
I agree with pretty much what everybody else stated. Just a mirror, and to show Rick that it's not as black and white as it seems. It's a lot of complexities, and it goes with war and yada yada, that good stuff. You have to take a look at yourself and try not to get consumed by your vengeance and stuff like that. So
yeah. And as far as me, I can accept it as trying to humanize the Saviors, but not Negan. I think their purpose with having everyone say they are Negan is to say, like, Negan and the Saviors are the same. Anyone could have ended up being Negan, but I don't think that's true. I think a lot of the Saviors are just assholes. Like, Negan's just an asshole that goes around and has created this culture of people just fucking each other over. Some of the Saviors are certainly complicit in that, but I can see them being in this environment, and this is the only way they survive or keep their loved ones safe or whatever. So it's still not good. And maybe they don't deserve to live or whatever, but I would give a chance to a random Savior over Negan. Negan's the one who set this all in motion. He made this all happen with going around fucking killing people and then forcing the people to work for him. So Saviors don't equal Negan in my mind, although the I am Negan thing is meant to be some brainwashing in the universe, and outside the universe from a writing perspective is probably supposed to be like, well, if you can forgive the Saviors, you can forgive Negan, and I say no. And do you like that Forever brought up, and everyone brought up, that Morales is meant to be a mirror for Rick? And I think last episode it was kind of literal, like with Morales saying we're the same, and then Rick's like we're not, take a look at yourself. And last episode Rick literally took a look at himself in a mirror. So
this show is not subtle at all.
Not at all. So no, I have a suspicion of how they're gonna play this theme out, and it's probably gonna end up being with Rick and everybody being like, we are just like the Saviors, even though I don't think that's true at all. I think they have certain similarity, like maybe some of these characters were attached to, if they had been in a certain situation, they would have become Saviors, but that doesn't mean that they now, as they are, do the same things as the Saviors, because the Saviors go out of their way to fuck people over and most of our crew does not do that. What was my other point? Oh, and I think Morales was super fucking shook when Rick brought up Glenn and that Glenn had a pregnant wife that he got murdered in front of. I think that just the fact that Morales, for all of his I am Negan stuff, actually kind of like dropped his gun for a second there and just had to like contemplate that for a moment. I think that's something that shows kind of like the difference. Like if he's been with the Saviors this whole time and he just could not imagine like finding someone and falling in love with them and then starting a family, really, even though we just saw a baby for the Saviors, it's something like, I don't know, it shows something different between the Saviors and whatever their culture is and everybody else and what they're going for. But yeah. Oh, and then this isn't exactly related to Morales, but it's kind of related to the theme of, the Saviors and everyone are the same. Any comments in regards to Rick's Polaroids forever?
Rick's Polaroids. That's a good question. I never thought about it before. Can someone else go?
Someone else go. Okay. Anyone volunteer?
I can go. I love Petty Rick, but it is, again, just another way to show us that he's going to end up being more similar to Negan. Right now, I think he's taking pictures so that he'll eventually show them to Negan as a power play, like, look at all the damage I'm doing to your people. You're ready to give up yet? I think that's why he's doing it, and he was writing some kind of note. So I'm guessing that it's going to be a way for him to ask for surrender. But yeah, symbolically, it does make him a little bit more of a mirror image of Negan.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else have any Polaroid comments?
I think that Rick is taking up Glenn's hobby of photography as a memorial to him. And so that he can see the takedown of Negan via Polaroids, because I think that Glenn would be into that. That's my take on it. My hot take.
And Aaron too. Aaron's into taking photographic evidence of things. They're maintaining history.
I think he's making a scrapbook for Judith. Like, he already has a kill book for Judith, like all Judith's little babysitters. And then he's like, Judith, look, Daddy can kill too. And it might be for Michonne's sake. Oh, because Michonne is in Alexandria bored. So he might
he's giving her reading material. That's good.
It's like, yeah, Michonne, look at all these cool kills we got. It was lit.
I don't know. Maybe I'm more of the morbid one out of the group, but I thought maybe he would use the Polaroids and like put them up in the cell where he'll eventually keep Negan, because we all know that's what that cell is for. Just as a way to torture him.
Look at all that you lost.
I hate Morgan. I wish we had Morgan from Right Now last year, because the Morgan right now would never build a cell.
All right.
Then we wouldn't have to deal with this.
He'd build a guillotine.
Well, we can actually go ahead and transition over to the Morgan stuff then. Hey, Jesus versus Morgan, got the physical fight between them, as well as the philosophical conflict involving Jesus wanting to accept surrenders and take prisoners. We don't execute. There are many kinds of dying. Versus Morgan, we do the same thing they do, but we go on. Everybody turns, and then Morgan kind of bringing up a line that Forever mentioned was echoed earlier in the show. I'm not right, but that doesn't make me wrong. What's everyone's hot take on Jesus and Morgan's conflict forever?
I think they're just like two extremes. I think there's a middle ground to what they're thinking of doing. There's saviors, like was mentioned before, they're pretty terrible people generally, but I believe that there's a middle ground to just not just like killing them straight out, like Morgan is thinking about doing. If they're surrendering, they should at least find some sort of prison for them. So, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure Morgan might not be into what Jesus is saying at all. So that's my take.
Yeah. Mama, what's your take?
I definitely think that their conflict represents what we're probably going to be seeing for the whole, at least the first half of the season, the whole mercy versus killing and vengeance. It's very biblical, which Gimple loves. I think it's a little bit extreme with Jesus's take because this is kind of coming out of left field. I mean, Jesus is a good man. You know, he's not violent, but he certainly had no problem killing people previously, and now this is just really extreme. But they did surrender, and prisoners of war are real, and they could be considered that. I think what makes it tough is the Jareds in the group that we know should just die. That, you know, why are they going to feed them and house them and take care of them when they really just should have killed them? But it's definitely, I think, a conflict that we'll be dealing with. I cannot criticize any scene that Morgan is in because I completely adore Lenny James. I think he is amazing. Oh my God, the way he delivers his lines, my heart breaks for him every time. And he saved that scene for me for sure.
And Candace, Jesus versus Morgan.
I kind of agree that there should be some kind of middle ground, but I do like that they're bringing it up as early and not just, oh, kill them all, then, oh, maybe should kept them alive. Because, like, with Daryl, he just killed a savior and then asked who's Gavin's team. And that wasn't strategically, that wasn't a good idea. And I think now with the hostages or prisoners of war, they can probably get a better sense of the saviors, find out some more outposts, get some more intel, and it could help them in the long run. Long term wise, I don't know how logical it is to keep them around, try to feed them, clothe them, and everything, but I don't see why they should just go straight and kill them, because you can't bring back a dead person. Even though this is The Walking Dead, you can't really bring back a dead person. So right now, I say we play it by with Jesus, but long term, I don't know.
Yeah, and Autumn, what's your take?
I loved it. I love the different perspectives that it brings up. My whole question is, where's Morgan gonna go? Like, where is he gonna find his place? Is he gonna do what he previously set out to do, which is go and find each one by one? Or is he gonna come back to the group eventually, and then how is he gonna cope with that? I mean, to me, it kind of raises more questions. I'm intrigued on how they're gonna handle the situation going forward.
Yeah. And as for me, I saw their actual physical fight as kind of like a superhero thing. Like they just wanted Batman and Superman to fight, or the Hulk and Thor. They're like, oh man, we got these two martial arts guys. Let's come up with a scenario where they beat the crap out of each other. Yeah. And yeah, I also don't really get where this aspect of Jesus's character came from, especially to this extent. I could see him wanting to protect people who surrender. I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility, even though he previously killed people in their sleep or whatever. But I think it's the episode before when he was like going, huh?
Jesus never killed anybody in sleep. Only time he killed somebody was when he was saving Glenn and Heath.
Oh, okay, well, when he was down with that plan or whatever. technically he didn't, but he was down with that plan. He's not down with the kill everybody plan. Where was I? Yeah, and I didn't get him saving or trying to still spare the one guy who held a gun to his head. Like I can understand him wanting to save him when he was surrendering and he like peed himself or whatever, but then when he's like, it was a fake surrender, and he's like, no, we still gotta save this guy. Like, wow.
Right.
That's a dude you would have killed before. Clearly. So I think what it is they realize that they keep killing off the Glens of the world, and so the spirit has to pass on to someone else, and they elected it to be Jesus. It's like, oh man, we keep killing off this particular character type, but we need this character type to keep the struggle going. So it just possesses someone else.
Oh, can I touch on Glenn Morales for a second?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I think that like you mentioned about him being like surprised about Glenn finding like marriage and everything, it kind of was a shock to him because Glenn is like such an amazing human being that like Negan would think to kill him. That was kind of like, I don't think he considered that what the Saviors were doing as it was a bad thing. And that kind of was like a pain to him that like they killed Glenn. Like maybe we're doing something wrong here. He might be doing something wrong. Yeah. So that's what I think that's about.
Yeah, maybe it's like Morales sees the Saviors going around and only killing assholes or something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, every group we run into, there's just a bunch of assholes. So we just kill one asshole and then blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, of all the people, Glenn? And that's why he shook to his core. And then I've gone on way too long, but I also have the way in that, yes, Morgan is amazing, and I love him. And it was funny in a way to see him arguing against Jesus, since Jesus is now what Morgan was, a few seasons ago when he first showed up. And Morgan saying that line, I'm not right, but that doesn't make me wrong, which he said essentially, but through his other philosophy to Rick when they were going out and finding Carol. So it's like the weird, not like parallel, I guess, but the opposite of that with himself. So he like Morgan just kind of flip-flops through extremes.
Yeah.
And Lenny James is amazing at being Morgan. So
I guess his journey is to find some kind of middle ground. Because, he does go to extremes.
That's my hope for him, because I love him.
And I really wanted Morales to see Daryl and be like, he killed Glenn, but not Daryl.
This is the other reason that Daryl killing Morales sucks, because he could have been like, what the fuck, why is Daryl alive? That racist piece of shit. That's why Morales is like, you're a monster, Rick. Your best friend is a fucking racist. Anyways, Rick and Daryl, about how they dealt with Morales and how they dealt with the Savior at the end. Could Rick and Daryl be at odds, and what was their different philosophies and all this? Forever, go.
I think they're definitely at odds. But my question is, why didn't they like talk this stuff out before they were actually put in this situation? Which I imagine they probably did. But my thing is, I guess I can see Daryl's perspective a little bit, because you don't want to get caught. It's all about family, and that's what I guess he's trying to protect. But also, Rick is trying to, like he was saying, like Rick's word is the only thing that's in his family, is the only thing that's like kept him throughout this whole thing, and he doesn't want to lose that. But Daryl is just down this rogue lane that I kind of get, but don't also. So I think they should fight. Find
Mama.
out.
Oh. Yeah. Mama, what's your take for Rick and Daryl?
I think that they should have a bottle episode of just Rick and Daryl fighting the entire episode. That would make the season for me. I actually cheered, which I rarely do for Daryl, but when he killed Morales, I cheered because it shut him up. I was getting really annoyed at Morales, and he did have a gun pointed at Rick, so that I was totally fine with. I mean, he could have killed Rick at any time, and so that one I wasn't as conflicted. I mean, obviously Rick wasn't happy because Morales was someone that he knew, and maybe he still had hope for him. And it's definitely showing us a more merciful side of Rick, because season 5 Rick wouldn't have given a shit if he killed him. It's like, okay, let's move on. But this Rick is a little bit more merciful. The savior outside, I definitely had a problem with, because the guy was surrendering. He was harmless. He had just given them good intel. And Daryl should have listened to Rick, his friend and his leader, give his word and not go against that. I had a problem with that, because Daryl is still a soldier in Rick's army, and he went against what his leader said, and he went rogue, and I don't respect that in him. I know it's done for a purpose to show the two different sides. The whole theme of we get it. There's a theme, but I wasn't comfortable with it. I didn't think that was very respectful of Daryl to go against Rick like that.
Yeah, it's kind of something like, sure, I can understand that something's in character or following a theme doesn't mean I have to respect or like it.
Right, exactly.
There's lots of characters I hate when they're in character because I hate their character. And, Candace, what's your take?
Well, we have seen Rick kind of trigger happy in the past. That scene with him and Morgan. He was just shooting a guy with no questions, and then in the premiere, he kind of warned the guy with Carl that he was going to shoot him. But then you see Daryl has no hesitation. He just goes ahead and shoots people. And sometimes it doesn't make any logical sense. Like the savior at the end, he doesn't even know who Gavin's team is, but he's just going to shoot him before he even asks questions. I mean, that doesn't make sense. It kind of shows how short-sighted Daryl can be at times. And Rick has gotten to that point, but he hasn't really went to the edge of being so short-sighted. And I hope that this does cause some conflict, because I really hate the lack of internal conflict between the family. It's like everybody's always on one accord. No one ever blames Daryl for anything. And I just kind of want that to stop.
Yeah, definitely with you on that. And I wanted to bring up what you mentioned with Rick and Morgan in the season 6 finale, when Rick was just like shooting at that Kingdom guy. That was just fucking stupid. I didn't like the writing for Rick that much in season 6. He was just all over the place, and that was just completely stupid. He didn't know who that guy was. He was just some guy, and he was like gonna fire at him and kill him. Like, what the fuck? And then we have Daryl here. He technically does know that this guy is at least a savior, but yeah, they could have gotten more valuable intel out of him. He's like, oh, I killed him. He's dead. Like, okay, cool. Wow, great. Anyways, Autumn, what's your take?
There might be, looks like there's trouble a brewing. It looks like there's clear lines being drawn between the people that are, at least in Team Family, that are kind of more hesitant, even in war, to just, kill everybody. They acknowledge that, some of the saviors are not there by their own accord, or they don't necessarily want to be there. And then there's the people that just don't give a fuck and will kill. If you're a savior, you're going to die. It's just how it is. Like, we've seen that with Daryl, Tara, Morgan, clearly. And with Rosita in last season, we haven't really seen what Rosita's mind state was, but she was kind of the kickoff to, the people being, Team Family being gung-ho. Let's just kill them all. We don't care who we need to take from. Let's do it. Let's go. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out in this season.
Yeah, and I think I talked enough in between everybody, but yeah, I think Rick and Daryl obviously gonna have some tension between them because they've been chosen to be on opposite sides of this conflict. Don't know how big the fight will be. Maybe they'll skip it over because Daryl never has consequences for his actions. But yeah. Anyways, I'll go to Maggie and Gregory and those Hilltop prisoners. Start with Maggie and Gregory. When Gregory begs to be let in, he's talking about, I didn't want to be complicit with, I suppose, allowing the Saviors to be attacked. And then he apologizes and says he made a mistake and talks about keyword mercy. So where is Gregory coming from? And then why did Maggie let him in when she mentioned he's not worth killing forever?
I think the whole thing about him not being worth killing was for her own self. And I think that that's a big thing also throughout this whole episode was just about your word. And just her staying kind of on the same plane as Glenn, and not being the one to kill, just mercifully. It's about him not being worth it at all. he's just pitiful, and
she doesn't want to waste a bullet.
Yeah, doesn't even want to. Well, she could use a knife. She could use.
Or she could have just let him get eaten.
Or just not let him in. Yeah, but he's just really not worth it. But I would still be the person to. Well, no, I wouldn't be the person, but I would kill him just because he's done enough. Yeah.
And Mama, where do you stand with Maggie and Gregory?
Well, Maggie was acting in character. Unfortunately, she's she's not a mercenary. She's not a cold-blooded killer. And this guy was basically turning himself in, throwing himself at her feet. And when she says he's not worth it, I was yelling at my TV. But then I thought, he's not worth one more kill to weigh on her. She killed people, and she is a good person with good heart, and she couldn't just have that death weigh on her. Now, it'll come back to bite her, I'm sure, as all these things do. Gregory was being his usual sleazy, lying self, and I cannot wait until he's off my screen. But I did understand Maggie as the character making that decision, even though I didn't like it.
And Candace, Maggie and Gregory, what's your take?
I think the only reason she didn't really kill him is because he did kind of set up the Hilltop, and she probably didn't want the Hilltop residents to see her kill him. I don't know. She probably kill him later on. Send Jesus to do it.
Will Jesus do it though?
I don't know, because Jesus is trying to stay at the Hilltop. He was running when Gregory was there. He kept trying to leave, but now that Maggie's there, he has faith in Maggie, and he's kind of like drinking the Maggie Kool-Aid. Like, she'll find a way to help us deal with these prisoners of war and all this. So I don't know. He might do it, but I just see Maggie just trying to give Gregory a second chance, kind of, because Glenn was all about giving people second chances.
Yeah. And Autumn, what do you say about Maggie and Gregory?
I think that it's true that Maggie probably doesn't want the weight of another kill on her shoulders. She didn't want to give Gregory a second chance. And I love Gregory. I love to hate him. So I don't want him to die just yet. But he will get his up and comings. As far as her saying, like, he's not worth it, like what Mama said, he's not worth the bullet. At the same time, I'm not sure which episode it was. It might have been in season 6. I think Jesus said that cowards are dangerous. So, of course, that's going to come back to bite them. But she was just feeling the Glenn love, giving him one more chance.
Yeah, and Yeah, she did say, I believe it was it was season 6. She said that Glenn saves people, even people like that, and she was referencing Nicholas. And Glenn apparently had said that Nicholas wasn't worth killing either. He's just, he's a coward. So it is kind of a throwback to Glenn. At the same time, as wonderful as Glenn is, and he is wonderful, he almost fucking died because he spared Nicholas.
Yeah.
So it seems like the show just always sets up these situations where they're merciful to cowards, and then always, constantly, every single time, except for with Gabe, bites them in the ass.
Yeah.
Like, you got Eugene, you got Nicholas, you got countless other cowardly characters who are dead. And I'm sure Gregory will, if he follows his comic arc, be a pain in the ass too. But I think it was probably Maggie trying to either be like Glenn or just like, yeah, maybe she couldn't bring herself to like kill the guy in cold blood, even though he had screwed them over. He wasn't, threatening them directly, so it's a little bit harder to, pull the trigger per se.
Another thing too, like maybe Maggie wants to keep an eye on him to where she knows like what he is and what he's doing versus letting him go and not know who he's talking to, or then he's jaded. So
yeah, it could be kind of like Jesus said about the savior prisoners. We can't kill them and we can't let them go. So she lets them in. Probably maybe like jail him at least. You can join the other saviors.
I do like that Gregory kind of confirmed that Negan already knew about their plan. So I wonder, when did Negan know about Jadis? Did they know about each other before Rick came to the junkyard or after?
Yeah, I
think
was
so.
wondering about that this morning. How did Negan find out? Maybe he didn't know about the junkyard before, but they did approach later or something. I guess we'll probably find out later down the line. But anyways, transitioning from Maggie and Gregory in particular to Maggie and the prisoners. Should Maggie keep these prisoners? What are the practical concerns with holding prisoners, prisoner of war, whatever, at this stage of the war? And what are the moral issues? Forever.
Well, the moral issue, I guess, is life or death. As the zombie apocalypse, there's not a lot of resources going on. And exposing and giving your resources to these prisoners might end up being the death of like one of your actual hilltop residents. So it's weighted. It's a weighted question. So but I still think at least for this right now she should at least just take him in, see what happens a little later down the road. But they are okay, I'm gonna be battling with myself about that in my head.
Yeah,
for at least an hour.
It's a complicated question. Mama, what's your take with these prisoners?
Practical is the care and feeding of them, because like Forever said, there's not a lot of resources. And safety. I don't know how well these trailers are secured that Jesus is talking about, but these are hardened men. I don't know if there's any women in the group, but they're all killers, and they just allowed them inside their gates. So I think there's a lot of concern. Again, I'm thinking it's going to come back to bite them. I don't think these guys are going to be converted to being peaceful people. As far as moral, it will probably come down to, killing them to keep themselves safe at some point. I'm thinking Maggie's only planning on keeping them a couple days because she's assuming everything will be over, which it probably will. I don't think the time is going by very quickly. So maybe she's thinking, I just got to keep these guys around for a couple days and then we'll figure out what to do with them.
Yeah, like this is the big push and then it should all be over or something.
Right.
And Candace, what is your take?
Well, I didn't want to kill him, but I can see what can be concerned, special resources and then manpower, because they're not just going to put them in a trailer and just leave them there. They're going to have Cal or somebody looking out for him. And he has his spear. Did he ever upgrade to a gun? I think he did.
I don't know. Guns are supposedly hard to come by, right?
Apparently. Oh, but then Gavin has all the guns. But who is Gavin? We don't know because Daryl killed the guy. But I do think there's a bit moral question. Do you just kill all of them? Like Megan would want the Saviors to come and just kill all the people at the hilltop just because they're living in the hilltop. So I think that has a lot to do with her decision. And like Mom says, she probably thinks it's going to be a few days, and then her, Rick, and Ezekiel will get together and then decide what to do with them. So maybe short term, it's a good idea to keep them alive. Long term, I don't know.
And Autumn, what's your take?
It's so complicated because it's like you don't want to kill all of them. At the same time, you know these people are a threat to your people, to the very fabric of lifestyle that you built at the hilltop. You don't, unless you know each and every person. I don't know how many people they have. Was it like 30 or something? Maybe 50? How many people they have? Hostages? Does anybody know?
I think it was closer to 30, but I don't really know either. I just feel like that number visualized better.
Oh, right. So unless you know like all these people on an individualized basis, like this person seems okay, or because clearly the Jared, I think that's his name, the asshole savior that killed Ben and like fucking with Morgan, clearly he's an asshole. He needs to die. But the other savior, which is Gavin, he seemed to be more kind of benevolent from season 6. Like he's like, I don't really want to do this. I'm not trying to, hurt people, where I can. Like somebody like that, I would be more willing to give a chance versus over, Jared. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Another reason I'm kind of happy that she let them stay is because Tara doesn't agree with it. She kept giving her opinion. Why is Tara giving her opinion on everything? Like everyone asks for it or something.
Because she needs to be she needs to be seen more now. She has a place, I guess, in the group from taking a back seat for so long. I don't know.
Was she trying to whisper in Morgan's ear this episode?
Yes. I think so, yes. And she's like, hey, he might not agree with you, but I do. You're right. Yeah. We're on the same team. I got you. I'm like, dang.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's up with Tara's character.
She's mad about her girlfriend.
I don't get why she suddenly like has Rick's ear. I guess this is all just spurned by revenge and stuff, and so now it's a new Tara. But I guess I just don't get where the sudden like people will listen to me.
Everybody's in this room seems so scolded. It's like, when did you get to talk to Rick? Like, when did you become so important? Who do you think you are, Tara?
She's Judith's babysitter. No one's more important than a Judith's babysitter. Once you babysit Judith, you're in Rick's inner circle.
It wasn't that important.
I guess when Rick told her she didn't have to feel bad about the situation with Oceanside, just like a switch was flicked, and now she's like, I've got Rick's ear. He gave me advice once. Yeah, and then they've also killed off a lot of like the A and B cast, so now the C cast has to upgrade, I guess. I don't know.
The Z cast.
That's true.
the Z cast. And I guess there's some other characters that suddenly have a lot of importance. Like we all love Gabe, but he also everyone trusting him all of a sudden was kind of out of nowhere because like 1 second he's like the asshole that sold them out to Deanna, and the next he's like, I'm the wise sage man giving people advice.
I
They
love
killed
it.
too many people in season 7. There's hardly anybody left.
Yeah, so they just said, well, we got to make characters out of everybody now.
Tobin still survives no matter what. He cannot be killed. Tobin and the black guy that was next to him, the bald guy, I see him around, but I don't think
the
we have a
Q
name
guy.
for him. That's his name?
Yeah, I think.
Yes, I finally have a name for him.
And Scott kept Aaron want to get Eric, and now we have King Eric. So
King Eric. King Eric. I don't know if I ever actually mentioned my part on the prisoners, but yeah, the question is always with each savior, like which one is just a fucking asshole and which ones can be redeemed, I guess.
Right.
I know once upon a time I was definitely team kill every fucking savior. That was called When They Just Killed Glenn. And I didn't give a fuck. But even before that happened in, what was the episode, The Same Boat, they had a few saviors that we could kind of see had, they were stuck under Negan, and you do see that there's more depth to them. They're not just assholes, they're just trying to survive or whatever. Except all those saviors die, so I guess every savior that's worth anything just dies, and the assholes are left alive. So that's great. Anyways, we can roll on over to, since we brought up King Eric, Aaron and Eric's goodbye, Aaron taking Gracie, and then I'll just talk about King Eric. So yeah, forever, you go.
I just talk about the actual scene.
Yeah, just feelings, stuff.
you should explain why you call him King Eric.
I will get to that. You will hear all about how he's King Eric.
I think they were pretty sweet scenes in his death. I thought it was so sweet that Eric was trying to make him feel okay just in his last moments and just like hear any like thoughts of like regret out of him. I thought that was super sweet. I am like Autumn. I would almost cry at that. I'm sad that he didn't get to get he kind of died off screen, pretty much. I wanted to see him. I wanted to see Aaron at least like put him down. But that's my take.
Oh, anything with Gracie and Aaron?
Oh, Gracie. Oh, that's just so sweet. Oh gosh. I love that he basically got not a replacement. That's not a replacement. But he got like something of comfort to him in that trying time of his. Mm-hmm. So I think he's gonna be a good Papa Aaron.
Oh,
Aaron.
Yeah. Okay. Mama, your take with Aaron and Eric and Gracie.
I wasn't a fan of the scene, mostly because I didn't think Eric got enough build up. And I mean, I thought the actor was great, and they did the most they could with the scenes, but I know I was supposed to feel a lot more than I did. I wished it felt more, but it just didn't resonate with me. No fault of Ross or the guy that plays Eric. I can't remember his name. It didn't really resonate. And then the fact that he was a walker and Aaron couldn't put him down, that I actually thought was really sad. And I think it's quote unquote realistic that we wouldn't be able to put every one of our loved ones down just because of circumstances. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty rare that we know of a character that's just going to be a walker. I think Jim was the last one back in season 1. So that was sad. And then, I thought the scene with Gracie was wonderful, and sort of giving Aaron something positive to focus on. after losing Eric.
And just one, there was actually Sasha, who was a walker at the end of season 7.
Yeah, but she got put
She
down.
got put
though.
down.
Yeah.
She got put down. So yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of characters that we know aren't just wandering out there.
She did turn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Candace.
Well, Belt is one of those characters that's wandering around out there.
Oh,
But
but she's not a walker. She's alive.
She's alive. Come on, Beth is alive.
Keep up.
oh, sorry.
They had surgeons in that hospital.
Well, I do wish there was a little more build up between Eric and Aaron because they kind of dropped them in season 6, and then in season 7 it was just about Eric just having it out for Rick, and it wasn't focused on them as a couple. So it does kind of feel like they do where your final episode they finally give somebody a character arc, and I kind of wish the show would give people character arcs throughout the seasons instead of your death moment. But I do like that Eric was trying to be optimistic for Aaron. But I do hate that Eric wasn't put down. And I do like that Gracie does have a home at the hilltop. Maybe she has a new daddy and Aaron, and maybe Jesus can help him grieve. And
Nice. I like how you put that in there. That was good. Very good.
And then we have my two dads in the GA.
My two gorgeous dads. I love it.
Autumn, do you have a take?
I loved the whole scene. I love all the interactions with Aaron and Eric and, with Gracie. I thought it was really touching and sweet. I do agree. I wish that they would have given Eric a little bit more character beforehand, because they always seem to do this to me. And I'm emotional, so I get attached easy. And it's just kind of not fair because it's cheap on my side. Because they did the same thing with Denise. It's like, I don't really care about Denise. And then when I started caring about Denise, they shot her through the head with a goddamn arrow. And I'm like, are you serious? You really going to do this to me like that? And then the same thing kind of happened with Eric. I'm like, this is so sad and touching. Like, it's just not fair. We should have more. There should be more to this. But that's The Walking Dead for you, so.
Yeah, they had like a scene like I think it's last season, and I was like, yeah, Eric's about to die. He's almost done.
He's marked.
Nope. Yeah. Anyways, so my take is that Eric is King Eric because everyone was always ragging on him. And so me and Lyra and maybe one other person were like, no, Eric's the best. You guys don't even know. He likes spaghetti and he's so sweet and such a good boyfriend, husband, whatever he was. And also he's the king because he's the best. He's the underdog that you don't expect, and now he's going to come back. There's not going to be Alpha. There's going to be the Walker King, King Eric. So yeah.
I'm down with
The Whisperer arc? Nah. Walker King. He's bringing the long night.
Is he bringing Tabitha along with him?
Yes, he's bringing the Walker goats.
Okay.
And when Shiva ascends, Shiva will be coming too.
Excellent. This sounds good.
Yeah, just hire me as a writer. Stop messing around with Gimple. That guy. What? Anyways, speaking of kings, let's go ahead and move on to King Ezekiel and the Kingdom and Carol. We saw that Carol was the one who puts the battle plan together, and we saw how that unfolded through the episode. And then we got a cool speech from Ezekiel that was kind of interspersed between everything about how, everything may be hard, and yet I smile, and yet Carol smiles. And then he was so sure that they would lose not even one of their ranks. What's your take on Carol as the general, and then Ezekiel in his hype game and his great kingliness? forever.
Yeah, I think that Carol, that's like a really good duo. I think it's almost like you're a ship or something. Like you should actually be together.
You think? Really? Huh. Oh, interesting.
Like that's just me. That's just my hot take on it. But I love it because Carol's more like pragmatic, and she's got like more of a battle plan, and Zeke is doing the hype man thing. He's hyping everybody up. He's getting them like pumped, and it's kind of like what Michonne said in that deleted scene about like not thinking about failing, putting everything you have into winning because there's no other option. So, and he's just really putting that into play. And for a while there, that was almost true. They did not lose one. So maybe in this next episode, we will see.
Yeah. And Mama, what's your take?
Well, I love them as a team. I think Carol is definitely coming out of her hibernation, and she's being charmed and wooed by Ezekiel during this war. They took out a ton of saviors. They were, they really were good leaders of their battalion, and I think what we're going to see with the heavy losses that Ezekiel has suffered, or that we'll see, is he's going to retreat from his larger-than-life persona, and we'll see more of the real man, behind the curtain, and that's the man that I think Carol is going to really connect with. It'll be really good. So yeah, I love them. I think they're great.
I'm like trying not to giggle right now, like a little fangirl. But Candace, what's your take?
I think Carol, as a general, kind of show her background because she was an abused wife, and she had to come up with a strategy to try to leave that situation. And we know from that god-awful episode of Consumed that she did try to escape one time. And it takes a lot of strategy, a lot of trickery, a lot of looking at different scenarios to try to escape. And I think that background kind of came into play tonight, last week in the episode as a general. And I kind of wish they didn't lose a person. I would have wished that Ezekiel optimistic, but I do like that everybody covered him, like cover the king. They really respect him and honor him, and they literally would die for him. And I think that shows that he's a good leader. Like Negan people, there's no honor in them dying for him. Like they would never really want to die for him. And I think I just like the contrast between everyone and Negan. Everyone wants to make them seem like they're like Negan, but they're really not.
Yeah. And Autumn, what's your take?
You guys have gotten me so hyped for this ship here. Here, Ezekiel, whatever we'd like to call it. But as much as we like Ezekiel and his nature of getting everybody pumped and stuff, it's unrealistic because it's, at the end of the day, it's war. So, you're gonna lose somebody. It's just one of those things. But I'm really excited for what's to come, like how they do get closer, because I agree with what Mama said too, and what everybody is saying. Like he's going to let his guard down. He's going to be more vulnerable because at the end of the day, it's war. So he needs to shed that kind of image and take on a more realistic approach. And Carol is the perfect person to be there for him, to help him to do that.
Maybe she does it by she gets captured maybe tonight and he goes in and saves her. Because I rather prefer her be a damsel right now than Rambo Carol. I really think Rambo Carol.
She'll be mad.
Yeah.
we need Rambo Carol at least 3 times a season. It's in her contract.
It is.
Yeah, I think we have seen enough of Carol getting herself out of situations. Like, yeah, obviously she's really capable, but yeah, I think it's also kind of realistic that someone's going to be in a jam that they can't get out of. So it would be nice to kind of. I think Carol is going to have to help Ezekiel out after his optimism takes a massive hit. So it would be kind of nice to see, Ezekiel helping Carol out of something too. So it's a little give and take here.
Yeah, back and forth.
All good relationships have balance.
I help you, you help me.
Right.
And then it is also some of Carol's characterization seems to be based on the idea that she's the only one that can get something done. So it'd just be nice for there to be a situation that she does get saved from, and then I think that would help her too, to not have to feel like she can't rely on other people or something. Like it always has to be her getting shit done. It's like, no, there's someone else that I can rely on in like a partner sense. I think like all in the same playing field, partner, have a variety of
like
types.
Rick and Michonne.
I mean, if you guys
kind of like Rick and Michonne. That's right. Good comparison.
if you guys remember that one part in the trailer that they showed Jerry and Ezekiel get up and they were like bloodied and stuff, and like Jerry was saying you're a cool dude or something. So maybe they do end up saving Carol after she gets captured.
Yeah, that could be cool. I'm just saying. And yeah, and I also have to throw in that Ezekiel is best and Kari is amazing and I love him. And yeah.
Agreed.
So we're now at a little overtime, but I think we still have enough time to kind of get in some final observations and stray thoughts about the episode and what we think this episode tells us about the rest of the season. Forever.
I think overall this was a good episode. You mentioned this in the bunker, like this has like been a one long huge episode.
Yeah.
I hope that there's like some sort of change in trajectory. Possibly we get to see Negan again, or like in a he's dying sense, or or just I want to also see like Alexandria. I'm ready to see what's going on over there, and also catch up with Michonne and Carl and everybody over there. So I'm still excited for this season.
Yeah. And Mama.
I'm struggling with these first 2 episodes because I feel from a storytelling perspective, they're just describing themes versus moving a plot forward. We've got entire scenes of dialogue where they're just, Negan Rick Negan, save your team family, they're all the same. It's theme after theme, and I want to see some actual plot, and I have a feeling when Michonne comes back, I'll get what I need. But right now, it's it's a little bit iffy for me. So, I mean, it was a good episode. It definitely kept my attention. There were some high points, but I'm really ready to move on to the. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, okay, where are the junkyard people? Maybe they'll do something interesting. I don't know. So I don't want to be a downer, but I'm hoping that. Tonight's episode will probably be a little bit more of the same, but then I'm hoping we'll kind of take a bit of a turn and get more into some forward momentum.
Yeah. And Candace.
It's a little stale. Like, they go long periods without dialogue, nothing but just a lot of gunplay, and then all of a sudden the dialogue is really horrible. And it's just like hitting a nail on the head, no subtlety at all. I would take Rosita at this point.
Yeah, me too. Show us Alexandria.
I kind of wish it would have been kind of cool if they had different like splicing, like gunfight at the Savior's compound, and then like Judith taking her first step in Alexandria or something. Like just
Yeah, what are we
something.
fighting for? We're fighting for these
Yeah.
children, right?
Remind the audience. Or like Maggie was at the hilltop. Just show some hilltop scenes. Like what is the hilltop doing when they're fighting?
Right.
Just anything.
Autumn, what's your take?
I've enjoyed it so far. I mean, it's a little bit change in pace than the last season, which I did enjoy. I wasn't as down on it as a lot of other, I guess, people who watch the show and fans of the show were. I like the action, but just like what everybody's been saying, it's just the writing. Like the writing isn't it's as I feel like it used to be. That's my only concern, and I guess that's still a major concern is the writing. But it's my show. I'm gonna stick with it. I have been entertained by the action and everything, but I'm itching for Michonne. I need to see what Michonne is doing, what Carl is doing. Let's liven it up and show some other things here. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like these first 3 episodes could have been wrapped up in like 2. It just feels like one, kind of like a big slog through the same event, and it might have just been better if the dialogue was less like everybody's just making speeches all the time, and it's like the same philosophical debate like over and over and over again.
With Tara's commentary on every one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it still has a lot of the same issues that it's always had, and it's kind of annoying that those don't change. I guess at least one thing I do like is that we do see different groups in each episode, so it's not like we're just stuck with, just Rick's group or just the Kingdom group or just the Saviors or something. There's we're seeing like members of each group kind of interspersed, so that I do like.
Well, I feel like they kind of had to change that because so many people were complaining about bottle episodes last season. Like it's like, oh, we have to change it up. At least that. Well,
yeah, well, that would also require AMC giving them a budget because bottle episodes are cheap. So, and maybe the bottle episodes will start after this one. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah,
damn AMC.
It was, or maybe it's not AMC. Maybe Gimple just really likes bottles. I guess we don't really know.
It's AMC.
But yeah, I like seeing the different groups all together instead of being like, tune in next week for a different group and not seeing everybody. But
I'll take a bottle of Michonne right now.
Yeah, the lack of Michonne and Carl is really annoying. Like, and not seeing what's going on at Alexandria and that, like, okay. And then whatever's going on with Rosita, I mean, she's probably just sitting around staring at the wall or something. Maybe it's not that exciting, but maybe it could be, training people. Like, they have to have people guarding Alexandria, where Carl and Michonne are supposed to be there running the show or whatever. So can we see what running the show looks like?
Yeah.
But anyways, any final thoughts from anyone?
Like, wasn't Rosita so gung-ho last season? Wouldn't you think she would be one of the people that would be out in the field? Maybe. I don't know.
I guess I think the practical reasons were because her actress Christian is on maternity leave, and that's why Rosita isn't around. So yeah, and she was shot, and this was like a shot that matters. So it's like it has her out of the game instead of being like a magic shot where they get shot through the stomach or something, but the next episode they're fine. So it's one of those real. I got really injured, not fake injured.
Oh, okay. And does the show feel different to you guys? Like, just tonally? I know it's a lot more action than what it used to be when it started out. But it seems like when it started out, it was more horror kind of... Like, I was on edge a lot of the times during the show. Like, a lot of stuff creeped me out. But now it's kind of gone into either full action or, like, just monologue, which is weird. But
Yeah, and I think that shift has been happening over the course of the seasons, but maybe since we're in a war, it's like more pronounced how different it's going to be. And I would expect the tone to be different, but I just kind of would hope that the dialogue issue wouldn't be an issue because there's no reason for them to have this terrible dialogue issue. Yeah, anyone else? Final thoughts? Okay. Well, I guess we can call that a wrap then. Everyone can get ready for the episode that's coming up. And yeah, everyone want to just say a quick goodbye?
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace
Thanks.
out.
See you next week.
See ya.